Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live episode of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined again this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson, Danny Hernandez, and James Chisanti, who is very hyper once again this week. We are once again reviewing the latest episode of AEW Dynamite, and we're going to start near the end of the episode with perhaps the biggest news of the night. It was a match billed as a Owen Hart Foundation Cup qualifying match. It was the Bunny versus mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent, boys and girls, was one Toni Storm. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Toni Storm has joined All Elite Wrestling. It's a big deal. Hey, I'm really fucking hyped. I love Toni Storm. So I'm excited to see her. I was excited to see how excited she was. She almost cried both before and after the match. This is a big deal for the women's division too. Danny and Chad, we were discussing this right before the pod here. The women's division does need help. It doesn't get as much TV time as we all think it does, and it needs more and more stars to help build it more and more. So Toni, a big name coming out of NXT / WWE, and joining this division, Danny, is a very big deal. By the way, she picked up the win, so she's now qualified for the Owen.
Absolutely. This is fantastic. I'm a big fan of this. Toni, please do Renee's podcast. Don't do Jericho's. Or at least do Renee's first. Keith Lee didn't listen, but please. Or actually, you know what? I don't know, because I'm really curious to see her actual side of the story, because I think we all saw like that probably false quote going around of her frustration when she left, which I don't think was a real quote, but something along the lines of not wanting to put over that bratty princess Charlotte, and that she missed like so many family events, a lot of bris and things like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that's why I don't think it was a real quote, because that's a really specific example there. But I'd like to hear her actual, because that was not a normal quitting or firing. That was you were in a title program and you just bounced. Like, that was pretty abrupt. So I'd like to hear what she has to say about that. But as far as the debut, fantastic, huge pop. The only thing I would say is, and I get it because it's the Bunny, so I'm going to do it, I would have just had the match be a little shorter so the crowd can just be hot, pop for the finish, and then boom, it's like, oh my God, Toni Storm's here, let's go. But that's like a minor nitpick. Other than that, this was great. She looked like a star. Hopefully she doesn't end up like Ruby, like we were kind of talking about before we started this too. But I'm excited for this. I don't really know what the Owen Hart Cup is, but hopefully she wins it.
Actually, commentary kind of said they don't really know what it is either, or at least JR did. So we'll see.
Well, of course he doesn't.
But yeah, they haven't really said other than, hey, this is, the Owen Hart Cup. It's a big deal, and it's going to end when they have a show at the T-Mobile Arena. I guess that's the next Double or Nothing.
Likely.
Yeah, but hey, I think it's going to be cool. The tournament's on the men's and women's side, so it should be fun, and it'll probably build a lot of people like the last tournament did. So I could easily see Toni winning this, but with everything you said about her WWE run, Danny, she was upset with the way things were going, and she asked for her release, and it's rare that WWE just grants it like that. So that was surprising, and now to see her so happy coming out here to a monster pop, James, I'm thrilled that she's able to, at least, it seems like she's able to find joy in wrestling again.
I think Toni Storm is going to be a gigantic asset to AEW. I think any woman that they could bring in who has a name is going to be a gigantic asset to AEW at this point. I was so happy for her to have that amazing reaction. It was by far the pop of the night. I think that's pretty fair.
Yep.
For a very hot crowd, I got to give it to the crowd tonight. They were on fire, and they were ready to welcome her. And I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest Toni Storm fan like during her WWE run, and I don't think I ever really got it. I don't think it's her fault. I just don't think I was ever given the opportunity to see why everyone was such a big fan of hers. I then went back and checked out her indie stuff, her independent stuff, and I started to really get it. And I can't say I'm the biggest Toni fan now, but I'm excited to see what comes next. I think her being her debuting in a tournament is a great way to do it, because we're going to see her going against a lot of different opponents on a somewhat weekly basis. So we're going to understand who Toni Storm is, and I'm just excited for what's next for her and what she can bring to this division.
Yeah, in introducing her, Excalibur brought up all of her bona fides, and they were mostly from Stardom, which is in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. So yes. I don't know if those were the matches you checked out. The ones I've seen of hers were mostly in Stardom, not so much really stateside. Some stuff in England too. So, and then I got a good glimpse of her in the Milan Classic as well. So
yeah, those are a lot. She had some good matches in that tournament.
Yep.
Yeah, because I agree with James. Like, her NXT run was good, not great, and then she went up to the main roster, and obviously I don't pay any sort of attention to that.
You could barely count her main roster run.
Yeah, like
3 months, and she wasn't even on TV for half of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say she was there for all of 10 minutes.
I mean, she got more than like Tegan Knox or even someone who's still there, Shotzi.
Hey, true. Tegan Knox and Shotzi beat the tag team champions 4 times. Never got a title match. So.
WWE booking, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's one of the things that has me excited for Toni, is that I know she can go out there and be really good. And plus, I kind of have a thing for girls in frat firm hats. So I'm really excited she's in AEW, and I'm going to be seeing her more, chat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with James. I wasn't the hugest Toni Storm fan, but when I saw she was going to the main roster in WWE, I was like, you know what, let me do my research. And as the NXT guy, of course, I went through NXT UK and watched her NXT. And I was like, oh, she has something. I don't know what, but she clearly has something. But the pop alone tonight was just great. I mean, she looks rested and invigorated and excited to be wrestling again. It's clear that she had bad booking behind her in the main roster. It's clear she has some things to show us, and she showed us tonight. I mean, I was excited. It was great. Great acquisition for AEW.
Can I just say that I think we can't let it be understated enough that she walked away feuding with one of the top stars in WWE. She was in the middle of a feud with Charlotte and decided that she didn't want this anymore and walked away. And also she got 2 pies thrown in her face by Charlotte in this feud. And, I know that's like a minor thing, and that's a classic WWE move, but normally it's the heels that get pies thrown in their face, not the baby faces getting pies thrown in their face by the heels and looking stupid. So this is why I can't wait for this podcast. I think it's going to be really good. Please do Renee's.
Yeah, I mean, if that's even what she wants to do, she might come out and say, like, yeah, I asked for my release and WWE was really good about it, and I have nothing bad to say about them. Who knows? So
we want the tea.
Oh no, I definitely want the tea. It's just she might not give it to us. I don't know. She's Australian, not British. I don't really know if they do tea down there. All right, let's move on here. Go back to the top of the card. CM Punk versus Max Caster. Before we even start, Danny, would you like to review the rap?
Great rap. If I had to grade it on the Max Caster scale of raps, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. It's definitely in the top tier of his raps. This is like the 3rd time he's taken a dig at Hunter Biden. So that's like that's a well he likes to go to a lot. of course, he didn't waste any time going for the Will Smith reference. Literally the first line. I was thinking it would be in the middle or towards the end, but nope. Right away. First line. It wasn't even a punchline because it's, usually every second line is the punchline. So he just opened with that. And then, of course, because it's CM Punk and Caster does his research, he's got to mention the Z-Packs. Great stuff.
That's
Gotta
part of the
mention
show.
That was rude.
Fantastic.
That was friggin' rude.
It was great.
Yeah, he mentioned Punk shitting himself in the ring too, as a part of that.
Hey, Punk seemed to have gotten a kick out of it. He really seemed to have liked it. I'd like to think that all of his opponents try their best to keep a straight face, and they just can't do it. But yeah, 8 out of 10. Fantastic rap.
Yeah.
It won't be anything compared to James's rap, but it was really good.
No, I thought it was smart. He came out first with the Will Smith line because it was so obvious. So it's like, all right, let's just get out of the way. And then he flipped that into the Hunter Biden line, which I thought was good.
It's also, if he waited even like a second longer, I don't think that joke would be topical anymore.
True.
Like there's such a limited window to get these burns out.
It's getting very quickly close to the South Park joke of General Tso's chicken. And it's like, you're the 1 millionth person to make that joke. Congratulations. Like, we get it, guys. All right, so let's go. This was a fun match. It was a bit shorter than I was expecting, especially after Punk's opening match last week. But very good, well wrestled match. Punk did his own scissoring thing in the middle of it, which I thought was funny as hell. Punk ended up winning with a pile driver and then the Anaconda Vice, which is cool. He's been using that more as his finisher lately. Maybe just because he can't get dudes up on his shoulders all the time for the GTS, or I don't know what. But
rude. What the hell is going on with this Punk hate today?
Or maybe he's just saving it. Like, who knows?
I think he's just trying to build up the Anaconda Vice because he didn't really use it the first couple months.
Or that. Like, I don't know. Just
put some respect on that man's name and his shoulders.
Por favor.
Lo siento. After the match, Shivani came to the ring to interview Punk about what he meant by doing the discount double check last week. And Punk made it very clear that he's going for the AEW championship. So, James, since you're already mad at me, I'll just go right to you. Like I said, good match. And now it looks like we're going to be setting up for Hangman versus Punk once all this Cole stuff ends. So what do you think of both of those things?
Whoa. How do you know you're not setting up for Punk versus Cole?
Touche.
Wow. That's that is not very undisputed of you, first of all. Second of all, I think it's going to be a good match. I'm excited for Punk versus Hangman. I'll be honest, watching the entire show tonight, all I could think of was, wow, I think I'd actually rather watch Punk versus Cole. I think that would be a better feud. But hey, we need another reason to boo Hangman, apparently, according to AEW. So put him in against Punk. Let's do it. And I thought the match with Caster was good. You mentioned the pile driver into the Anaconda Vice, and I thought it was interesting that we saw a very similar finish later on in the night.
There was a lot of pile drivers on this show.
Yeah. Storm Zero came back, like the OG Storm Zero came back. So.
But for me, the one that was exciting to me the most was that we got the Gotch style pile driver from Brian into the what is it? The yes? No, it's not the yes.
The label lock.
The label lock. And man, I know I'm probably the only person who's still waiting to see those two just circle the drain together. But oh god,
no, I'm right there with you.
I want it so badly, and I feel
as
like
a tag
that was
team or a feud.
Oh, just let them kick each other in the head. Yes, I want the tag team. I want the true mega powers of AEW. But man, I just want them to kick each other in the head at the same time. But yeah, great match with Caster. It's weird how often, like, whenever like the Acclaim do their finger scissor thing, I just start doing it to myself too.
Punk did it in the middle of the match.
I love it. I should hate it, but I love it. And yeah, Punk feels like the right next guy to go for the title. No matter who is champion, most likely Hangman. But we've waited long enough for Punk to get to the title scene.
Yeah, I am also kind of looking forward to seeing the Acclaimed eventually turn face because they are just getting all of their shit over. They're literally getting scissoring over. Like these dudes are very popular, or you just leave them as the popular heel tag team. Like I'm good either way.
I mean, they got
got big clubs.
Yeah.
Caster got a hell of a endorsement today from John Cena, of all people. Cena is saying, you know, Caster is way ahead of where he was when he was doing that gimmick. So I don't think you could get a much bigger endorsement than John Cena saying that he doesn't need any advice from him. Good for Caster.
Yeah, John Cena knows. Yeah, you know what? John Cena, when he's not on TV, is pretty cool.
Anyway, we're gonna move on before my feelings get hurt. But yeah.
Chad, say something before like James and Danny start going at each other.
I mean, I would rather see that. However,
ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Yeah, I loved it. Everyone knows me and Punk go back like babies and pacifiers or whatever. Like, I love seeing Punk.
That's unique. I like it.
It's old dirty bastard.
Yeah. It was an old one.
Yeah. But now great match, great promo, great rap. I think my not hot take, but my view for this week is I think still what me and Rev said. I think they are building Hangman to have quite a lengthy run because Punk, come on, is Punk gonna win? No, it's gonna be just like Bryan Danielson, and Hangman is gonna retain, and he's gonna be the champion for a while. Danny,
yeah, Danny, I saw that face. Go ahead,
Danny.
I mean, it's just a terrible idea. It's just terrible. You can't feed Punk and Bryan to him. That's like joking around aside. I think that's dumb. Like that's a waste, you know.
But you can't think Punk is going to win the title.
Why not? Yo, put the title on top start. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, especially if they're not part timers, they're full time. He's only got so many years left. Fucking do it. How many chances are you gonna have to do it?
I mean, that was literally his promo that he only had so much time left in AEW.
Yeah, all right. That beard will be fully gray in a few years. So just do it. You know, he's a big star. He's the reason so many people watch wrestling or started watching wrestling again or started wrestling podcasts. Like, why not give him the title? You know, it makes sense. But this match was fine. I thought it was kind of sloppy, actually. But, you know, I love both competitors, so it's okay. Let it slide. But, yeah, like, that's the thing. That's the other thing with the Hangman reign. If he's going to go against, fine, they turned Bryan heel. Can't turn Punk heel right now. Like, it's going to backfire on Hangman eventually. And he's going to become the old Hangman that the crowd liked, but didn't like that much, you know? But not to that extent. He's won over the crowd enough where they'll always love him, but they'll be ready to move on. So it won't be a resentment as much as it's time kind of thing. But yeah, if this is happening, especially if this happens at the pay-per-view, Punk's getting that title so he can drop it to MJF because MJF needs to win the title before this year is over.
Are we like just entirely opposed to a face dynamic here? Even like
not at all. I just think
not.
You know, it's gonna hurt Hangman more than it helps him.
And I think when you do a face rivalry, because this isn't just going to be a match, it's going to be a rivalry. It's for the title. You have to put in a great amount of care to make sure both guys stay cheered. And eventually the crowd is going to pick one. It always happens. It just always happens. Maybe by the time you get to the match, people will still cheer the other guy, but you see it all the time. I mean, they did it in AEW with Punk. It happened with him and Eddie Kingston. You know, it happens. It happened with it happens all the time. And I don't think AEW's not capable of keeping them face, both of them. But I think eventually they're just going to recognize the boos are there. Let's jump on it. And I don't want to see Hangman turn heel. I really don't. But I don't think you could turn Punk heel yet either.
Yeah. Also, you know, I just said I don't think Hangman should be the one to beat Punk and Bryan, but he already beat Cole too. So we want him to beat all of the All Out like fucking superstars. Is he going to beat Ruby next? Like all the big debuting people? Like I don't know. I think it's too much. I think you got to spread these things out and be smarter with it. Don't Roman Reigns it and bring back all these top names just to feed to one guy, you know, spread it out. And I'm saying it like it's a bad thing, like Hangman doesn't deserve these wins, and he does deserve some of them, but not, I think it's wasteful to give him all of those wins. He's already beaten Omega, Bryan, Cole. I think 100%, well, not 100%, but I think it's very likely that Punk would win if they do have this title feud.
Yeah. I guess I think if they did do a face-to-face with Hangman and Punk like is the one dude I trust to actually pull that off. So I could maybe see them doing it, but like you said, James, it's difficult. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We had a quick MJF and FTR backstage interview, which started with Smart Mark Sterling going around putting up signs with Wardlow's face on them, saying that he was banned from the premises, which I just thought was funny as hell. MJF basically said that the Pinnacle is still together and they're moving on up, and that starts with FTR's win tonight. FTR was like, look, Max, we're still your friend, but we're still Wardlow's friend. Like, keep us out of this. MJF responded that FTR is his family, and Wardlow was talking shit behind their back, and then says, whatever, that's not important. Only winning is important because when you're in the Pinnacle, you're on top. They goes to do the hand thing, and FTR reluctantly joins him. We'll get more into that when we get to their match in a bit. Next, we had Jon Moxley versus Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal on TV 2 weeks in a row.
They heard us. Yes,
very nice. And so I want to get into something with that really quickly because I think I figured this out. Because we were all complaining, well, not all of us, but we were talking about last week how all of a sudden Jay Lethal was number 4, I think it was, in the rankings when he showed up last week to face Cole, and we were like, oh, they just throw them on dark, and then they come up, and all of a sudden they have the high rank. And I think that's kind of the point. Like I did mention last week, like, oh, that's the point. Like they do it to get their wins up, but like at least in kayfabe, it makes sense that somebody who isn't ranked has to progress up the ladder, and then eventually you get up the ladder, and then you start facing guys like Moxley and Cole, and that's what Lethal did. And now that's why he's back on TV. So
the problem with that, though, is
that he's not on TV and nobody gives a shit?
No, that's not it at all. I mean, maybe, but the problem is that they have these guys farm these wins on Dark or Elevation, and then by the time they acknowledge that they're number 1 in the in the rankings or however high up in the rankings, they lose. They bring them in to lose. Jay Lethal was brought in to lose last week. He was brought in to lose again this week. And that way you could say Jon Moxley beat whatever he's ranked in the top 5 now.
Yeah, number 4. Well, Cole beat number 4, Jay Lethal. Like, yeah.
So they do it to benefit the guy who's already on TV. The guy who's got these rankings doesn't benefit at all. Jay Lethal did not benefit at all from last week. And he didn't really benefit at all from this week, other than the fact that he could say, yeah, I finally made it to TV. You need to have them get a win or 2 on Dynamite or even Rampage, really. That way, when you hear Adam Cole beats ranked number 4 Jay Lethal, or Jon Moxley beats ranked number 4 Jay Lethal, that it's like, all right, that's good. You know, this guy had momentum, but it doesn't matter because Jon Moxley's a wall. or Adam Cole is too hot. It doesn't matter who's trying to climb up on his name. They're going to beat him anyway. But instead, it's like, well, yeah, Jay Lethal beat a bunch of guys on Dark and Elevation that I have no idea who they are anyway. So who cares? He's just the top of the jabronis.
Yep, beautifully put.
So I guess what you're saying is like, at least like it makes sense to do what they're doing. It's just that they shouldn't do all of it on Dark and Elevation. You got to do a couple of it on. Okay, see, that makes sense to me.
Dark and Elevation have a purpose. They're there for people to get ring work in that aren't going to be on Dynamite or Rampage. That's totally fine. But if Dynamite and Rampage are solely going to belong to the same people, we're running into a problem that WWE has. And they have this bloated roster. We keep hearing how big this roster is. Cycle things out a little bit. Nobody is going to complain about diversity on a card. Yeah, maybe they'll be upset that they might not get their favorites every week, but you're still going to make new favorites. You're going to make more people excited to see these guys. I'm excited to see Jay Lethal, but it has nothing to do with how AEW is treating him. It has everything to do with the fact that I watched him in Ring of Honor. I watched him in TNA/Impact. So the biggest person who, you know, he must be a follower of the pod, Arn Anderson, he said the same thing this last week. He thinks that there are guys that are hot for a few weeks and then they get neglected to Dark and Elevation. He listed Dante Martin as his biggest example. Dante Martin is, I think, racking up wins right now, but they're on Dark and Elevation. And now Friday, he's going to wrestle the Bucks with his brother. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Top Flight's losing to the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Not that I want it to happen.
There's the fact that this match didn't even need to happen. Like, did Moxley really need to get a singles win on this show? Like, what purpose? Like, the Bryan match fueled their story.
I agree.
This match fueled nothing. This match could have been Jay Lethal beating someone on his level or slightly below so he can gain a win on Dynamite, so then he could face someone better the next week and then win or lose to that person. Like, this match ultimately didn't need to be here, you know?
I agree.
So much so that William Regal wasn't even out there for this to hype up Jon Moxley.
I found that to be really weird that he came out for Bryan, but he didn't come out for Moxley.
Is it weird after the promo he cut about Bryan and the one line he said about Moxley? Is it really that weird?
I've known you 11 years.
And you are an individual.
Right.
Well, I mean, they've established that Regal comes out with Bryan, at least, you know, when they do both entrances. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. All right, let's get into the match. I don't want to completely derail or recap with that conversation. But this match was physical as fuck, which was awesome. And I want to run through the last couple sequence here because they're all awesome. So Moxley went for a paradigm shift. His knee gave out. Lethal popped up, goes for the lethal injection. Mox counters with the sleeper hold. Lethal flips that over for the pin, kick out. Then Lethal goes up for the elbow drop, and Mox kicked out to a huge pop. And then it ends with Lethal going for the figure four against Mox's damaged knee. Moxley counters with the roll up. Lethal kicks out, and then he counters Lethal with the paradigm shift for the win. That whole last 2 minutes of the match was awesome. And then post match, Moxley extended his hand for Lethal to shake it, and Lethal took his hand and did. So I love that match. It was physical, like you said, maybe not necessary, Danny, but it ended up being a really good match. So I'm totally okay with it being on the card.
Oh yeah, it was a great match. I don't have much else to say about it though, because I feel like me and James already got all of our stuff out about it. But yeah, it was a great match, and ultimately it is nice to see Lethal on TV. I kind of just wish he was again Madden Warriors facing someone else, but I'll try to keep my complaints limited since it was a really good match. Fun stuff.
I have been seeing though, at least on the internet, Chad, Reddit thinks that they're pushing something with Lethal now that he's lost 2 weeks in a row and he's very frustrated after the match, whether they decide maybe to turn him heel or he ends up teaming with somebody else. So maybe there is a purpose to these matches that we just don't know yet.
Yes, our good friend Jim Drake said that in the group chat earlier. I do believe there is something brewing. Something is happening, and I'm very excited to see what's going on with him because, as we all said, we love seeing him on TV. To echo what you said, the match was phenomenal. Although it wasn't, necessarily needed, it was a great match. It was just entertaining, just a wrestling fan's dream, really.
I'm also totally cool, James, with getting more Mox and Bryan singles matches, just because that means double the violence, double the fun.
I agree. I'm fine with both of them having the singles matches. And again, to go to Danny's point, if it serves the story, I 100%. I mean that, and I just love watching them wrestle. But Bryan's match served the story.
Agreed.
Mox's match, on first glance, I don't think is serving the story. But again, it's like we were saying, there is a story brewing with Jay Lethal. And even if you take the Jay Lethal out of it, the match started with Lethal offering his hand to Moxley, and Moxley didn't reciprocate. But after the match, Moxley extended his hand to Lethal, and that's when Lethal reciprocated. I think that's very telling. I think as much as we're all digging this storyline, I don't think the Blackpool Combat Club is long for the wrestling world. I think we're going to see Moxley probably stick it out as a baby face, and Bryan is going to go a hardcore heel, which, I mean, he already has been technically. That match, the ending of that match was brutal, but I don't know. I think it's telling that Moxley is having these respectful bouts, and he's showing the respect to his opponents that he's getting at the end. And Bryan is stomping people's heads in. And I have a feeling that it's going to lead to a real big divide between the two, but time will tell. And who knows, maybe Lethal will take Moxley's place. I think that'd be cool personally, but I don't know. I need more from it. I am happy Lethal was on TV because he deserves it and he got to show how good he is. And Moxley is Moxley. The more, the better. Not much more to say about it, just like Danny said.
All right. On that note, we'll move on then. We had a quick Marina Shafir video package, which was a little surprising. I think it was her first mention on Dynamite, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a clear setup, which we'll get to in a bit. And we had FTR versus the Ass Boys, Gun Club. FTR had very cool NWO inspired gear. They also came out with the AAA belts. I do believe they're fighting Friday. Yes, they are. They're facing... James, who are they facing for the Ring of Honor tag team title belts on Friday?
They are facing the Briscoe brothers.
Thank you. Could not remember their name. Also, is Lethal fighting Friday?
Yes, he will be facing, I think, Lee Moriarty.
Cool. I'm down for that match. All right. So a lot of ass boy chants. I almost fucked that up bad. A lot of ass boy chants the whole match and during the entrances and stuff. MJF was on commentary. They obviously great back and forth with that whole crew. They always do a good job with that. The match itself was fine, but the main point here was that Wardlow showed up anyway, tore through the corridors, was just fucking up security guards just to give James another excuse to shit on 10.
It's a work of art how this man beats up hired help. It's a work of art, and it shows that 10 is only hired help for the Dark Order.
So anyway, he was just fucking up security guys and made it all the way to about the barrier before like 30 of them jumped on him and escorted him out. The match ended with Gun Club trying every heel trick in the book, failing at it anyway, and FTR picked up the win with the big rig. Afterwards, MJF basically sprinted to the ring to celebrate with FTR. They were pretty pissed off about what happened with the Wardlow stuff, but they eventually calmed down, and MJF raised both of their hands for the end of the segment. So good match, but like James had his bit about Wardlow. You guys have anything for this? Danny, Chad, either of you?
I hated this. I love what we're gonna get with face FTR. I think it's very exciting. We've never seen it before. It's gonna be very, very interesting. I hated Wardlow in this. Not that he did anything wrong. I hated that he was there. I don't like this. I don't like you're fired, you're in kayfabe, you can't be here, blah, blah, blah. And then they show up immediately the next week. He didn't buy a ticket, so I guess that's better. But like,
is it because how the hell did he get in the building?
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, you're right.
I think he just broke in, like, because he technically isn't fired. He's just MJF doesn't want him there because he's still under contract with MJF. So
he's not allowed to be there.
He's trespassing.
Yeah, he's
trespassing.
I just wanted to
why
make a
he was
point.
escorted.
I just wanted to make a point. He wasn't fired.
Oh no,
but it's the same.
Okay,
it's the same bit.
But
it's the same bit.
It's I don't want to. No offense, James. I'm very sorry, but like, I don't want to say John Cena ruined this type of angle, but John Cena ruined this type of angle. It's been 12 years, and I still hate
Nexus
this
stuff?
every time. Yeah, when he was fired and showed up the next week, and I hate this part. This is one of the wrestling tropes I can't stand anymore. And yeah, it's John Cena's fault, but like, okay, fine, it's WWE's fault because they wouldn't let Cena stay home for a fucking week. Okay, how about that, James? Is that better?
I'll take it. Bad booking, always the problem.
Yeah.
Never blame the wrestler.
I don't like this stuff in wrestling. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's been burnt out of me. But why does Beardler? That's a great name. But why does AEW care if MJF doesn't want him there? Because he's under contract with MJF, not AEW. Have you ever seen a Wardlow's All Elite graphic? He's an MJF employee.
Basically, MJF gets like the equivalent of not a press pass, but some sort of pass for him from AEW as a contractor. And then this, like, now MJF isn't getting it for him, so he has no right to be there. Is basically what it is in kayfabe.
Yeah, I didn't like this. Besides, I liked everything about it besides Wardlow showing up, honestly. I loved MJF on commentary. I thought he was great with Toni and Excalibur. Love FTR turning face. I just like let things
sick.
I don't know.
I agree so much it makes my stomach hurt. I'm literally sick that I agree with Danny to this extent.
I agree that they should let it breathe a bit more if they're gonna do this, like before doing this. Like, to do it the next week is just like, take a step back, let it breathe a bit. He's not here this week. I know people want to see him, but oh shit, he's not here this week. Like, MJF is really, clamping down, or something like that. Instead of, oh shit, he's already back. Like, it's just so.
I'm gonna lose my mind if he shows us a purchase ticket. I feel like it's coming, and I'm just. Anyway, on to the match.
Yeah,
I will say that FTR is easily top 3 tag teams that I've ever seen, and they're not 3. And I'll just leave it at that. They're becoming my favorite tag team over there.
I love Chad has these like beautiful but small takes. He doesn't need a ramble like I do. He gets to the point, and he's just like, they're the best, period. Moving on.
I was just saying, MJF said the same thing in the commentary because they're the best of all time.
Yeah, but I'd rather hear it from Chad's voice than MJF's.
True.
And I know I had my bit with Wardlow, but I'm just gonna, like, one thing I loved about the match, the Gun Club really, they wrestled the match like heel FTR usually wrestles their matches.
They did.
Beautiful. Like, they were in sync. They took advantage of every moment the ref wasn't paying attention. It was the little things. You're not seeing these big moves being hit while the ref isn't paying attention, but you see them grabbing the leg of the opponent while they're running the ropes. You see them helping each other, stretching stuff out. that is what I loved about FTR psychology as a heel tag team. And the Gun Club really nailed it tonight. And I have to believe that they learned some of those lessons from FTR.
Colton even did the slide in front of the opposite corner.
Yep.
To prevent the tag, like the exact same move that FTR always does. I noticed that. Like, I noticed them obviously cheating enough, but now that you like mentioned the psychology, you're absolutely right. They wrestled that just like a heel FTR match.
The match was art. It was artistry at its finest. Literally, for me, the only thing that took the steam out of the match was the Wardlow antics.
I do agree. It wasn't necessary, but I think because it wasn't necessary, that's why they're building towards this separation between FTR and MJF. It wasn't so much to push the Wardlow MJF part of the story. It was more about creating a bigger divide between FTR and MJF. That's a lot of letters, but it's serving its purpose and it feels natural. I'm loving how they're handling it, even though I think it could be handled better.
I'm laughing now because you're like, there's a lot of letters. And I was like, well, you could call him Max. And I was like, wait, shit, it's also Dash or Cash and Dax. And that's not happening.
It's a lot.
The pinnacle.
They got Aces, Blazes, Tasers, and all kind of Aces. Really hope my computer did just break, but we'll move on. So we had, after the quick Keith Lee versus Powerhouse Hobbs promo package on Rampage, James is going to, I don't even know if James is going to watch that because James is going to WrestleMania this weekend, so he's going to be busy as fuck, but he's going to get his big meaty men slapping meat. And,
I will always make time for my big meaty titty slapping meat matches, and even if I got to DVR it, I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah, you and Biggie, who hopefully is going to feel better after that match, to steal a line from a friend of ours. So then we have the Jericho Appreciation Society backstage promo. I'm just gonna gloss through this because they talked. It was cool, whatever. And then Matt Bernard went to go take a peek behind one of the curtains to see if Eddie, Santana, and Ortiz were there. They weren't. And then they told Hager to do the other side, and the three of them were there. Hager took a mad ball straight to the dome, and then the three of them just kicked the shit out of those guys until Hager came back to the ring, turned the tables. Garcia put the sharpshooter on Eddie, and Jericho was hitting him in the back with Floyd, and then Jericho also whipped Eddie with the studded belt. So what started as a great return for Eddie, Santana, Ortiz ended up with them in absolute like
losers.
I was gonna say it ended up with them in absolute shambles. So I think they're gonna need backup. And they kind of alluded to that because Jericho in the beginning of the promo said there's only 5 of us or whatever, but I feel like mentioning a specific number and there only being 3 of the other guys. It's kind of leading me to think, yeah, we're probably going to need some more dudes helping.
I don't even know who it could be. I don't know who I'd put in that.
We got anybody else from the Bronx lying around?
Oh God, Tommy Dreamer.
No.
I don't know about with those two.
No.
Guys. We need some more Puerto Rican guys.
All right, legit. I would love it if they brought in the original LAX.
Oh, that'd be cool. Even
like
if it's just for like the Stadium Stampede or Blood and Guts or whatever the hell this is leading to, that'd be cool.
Bring in Homicide. Bring in Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean, Homicide showed up at Grand Slam.
Yep.
And then Eddie, I think Eddie mentioned him. Oh, no, not Eddie. Well, Eddie has mentioned him before, but Jericho mentioned a couple of weeks ago that he should have gotten the other 2 members of LAX. So that could have been that could be a cool thing. That's a good idea. I'm all in on that. All right. Moving on here. We had a Jade Cargill backstage interview with Smart Mark, who said they had 2 opponents for her 30th win, and he picked Leva Bates, who was it was nice to see her on TV. It was funny. And Jade was pissed and said, no, we're picking the other person. And the other person is Marina Shafir. Surprise. See, that promo package was important. So I don't know when that's happening. I think it's next week, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be Shafir's first match on Dynamite. Jade's going for her 30th win, and That should be cool. I'm interested to see what Marine Shafir has to bring to the table.
And the green grass grows all around, all around.
Is it me or does it feel like they're slowly building towards the Jade face turn?
Maybe I don't know. You can still, I don't know. She keeps telling Toni off, which I don't think is a face move at all.
I'll give you that, but
Cut the shit.
It's a very baby face thing to say. I want good competition to defend my title, as opposed to give me the easy 30th win against Blue Pants.
That's true. Blue Pants.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
I pulled that one out. But it's true. I mean, why wouldn't she want the quick, easy win against Leva Bates? It's because she wants competition. And that's typically not the heel thing to do. Now, granted, she could be a heel and she's just a different shade of heel than we're used to. But I feel like with how over she's getting naturally, I think the face turn is in the works.
I think it's more along the lines of her ego is just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it'll lead to her eventual first loss because she keeps thinking she's untouchable and unbeatable, and so of course she's going to keep demanding better and better competition until someone actually beats her, and it'll be her own downfall. But I mean, she'll be face some point down the line, but I don't think that's coming soon.
Yeah, she's that bitch. Like, I think that is part of her character, that she thinks she can't lose. You know,
no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Look at that. You see, we talked about it. We discussed it. My mind changed. This is what we need, America. Discourse.
Nope, you're wrong. Let's move on.
Fair point. Let's go on.
The more you know. Next, we had the match we were all talking about earlier. Bryan Danielson versus Wheeler Yuta. This was hype. Regal was back on commentary. I love he keeps referring to Excalibur as the man in the mask. We'll never not pop for that. Wheeler Yuta was way over. He got a lot of chance in this match, and they only got louder as the match progressed because I said the Moxley match was physical. This was just straight up violent. Both dudes, blood wells all over their chests. Just, oh my God, it was great. It was very well technically wrestled. Wheeler Yuta might have the strongest neck I've ever seen with all the headstands he was doing.
That bridge was beautiful.
And the kid seriously got himself over with this match. It ended with Wheeler was about to get his head kicked in after taking the knee, and he spit, and I mean spit. He got a good loogie right up into Bryan's face to the point
disgusting.
Where it was on Bryan's face after the match ended. James is going to go have to take a shower. Bryan got pissed by that, kicked his head in, got style power driver, like James said, slapped on a lapel lock, and just passed Wheeler out. But Regal, very impressed by Wheeler, Chad. So do we think that he's going to be joining the Blackpool Combat Club?
Mox and Cox, first of all. I told you this before, Reverend. Oh man, this was for me match of the night.
Agreed.
Easily
Agreed.
Match of the night. I mean, we all love to see Bryan go, but Wheeler tonight, man, he was on fire. Like you said, the crowd was on fire. He was on fire. This was it. This was what I was looking for. Match of the night. Highlight.
Yeah, I bet they both had a lot of fun too. This looked like, if you love like wrestling this style of match, it was probably a great time. I'm just now thinking, because when this whole Wheeler Yuta thing started, I remember we were doing the show and our dear friend Eric was like, "Get Wheeler Yuta off of my screen." And what, 3 weeks later, he's over as fuck. He's built his character with barely saying anything, and I'm so excited to see this guy week in and week out, even more so than I was before, James.
I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding with how he's being booked and his reactions, like you guys said. For those who don't know, he will be wrestling at Ring of Honor Supercard. He's going for the ROH Pure title. And that's a big leap for this guy. That's a big leap from being choked out by Chris Statlander on BTE to going for the pure title and wrestling match of the night. And I agree with you, match of the night against Bryan Danielson. And I want to see more of his personality. We're getting that. That loogie was a big personality booster there. He's becoming his own.
Too.
We don't need to, thank you. Oh God.
Now I want to see if I can get James to throw up on camera.
Oh, that would.
I go through enough here. Okay. I'm pretty sure I've cried. I'm pretty sure I like you I've sweat for you guys. Please don't make another bodily function happen. But beyond that, it was a great match. I wish that we had gotten more afterwards. I wish that there was a little bit of like that. We talk about it all the time, that AEW's kind of big problem is that they don't let moments breathe the way they need to. And I would have liked a little bit more post-match, but it's okay. This is developing. I really, really hope he joins the group. What is it?
Black
the BCC
Combat Club. Yeah.
So
The BCC.
let him be the young boy of the group. I'm fine with that. I'm a-okay with that, and I hope we see more. Like, this is the story that I'm most invested in every week, and every week it doesn't disappoint.
I think the reason they didn't do anything after the match was because Wheeler was unconscious. It kind of makes it difficult.
Just weekend at Bernie's with him, like just Moxley has a history of knocking out young boys, or I don't want to say young boys, we're getting weird here, but like he's got a history of knocking out the young lions or the young guys and then literally taking them backstage and saying, "You're mine now." He did it in New Japan.
Shooter.
He did it with Shooter. Now do it with Yuda. And just let it happen. He just wakes up and he's like, I guess I'm part of the group now.
God, I hope we see Shooter in AEW. That was one of my favorite storylines.
Me too.
I'm gonna go sidetrack for a second. Like, I'm randomly thinking of when Moxley lost to the comedian wrestler in New Japan in the G1. And the promo he had backstage, he was so frustrated with him and Shooter. Oh, it was great. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here. Danny, did you enjoy the violence?
Oh yeah, it was great. I think the biggest takeaway from this match was actually fuck you, Trent. I think that's actually the takeaway, because now Wheeler Yuta is a bigger deal than Trent, who has been nothing but terrible to Yuta this whole time. But this match was amazing. It was so good. It's insane how much I care about Yuta now, because I was, not as harsh as some people we know about it, but I didn't really care about Yuta much at all until, his involvement with this. So, it's fantastic. This was great. Regal was great on commentary. Match was amazing. What do you got, Trent? Come on. You're nobody now compared to Yuta.
Wasn't it Trent's birthday like today or the other day? Leave him alone, man.
Follow Sue. I should know.
Dude, yeah, she tweeted out about it. I don't remember if I saw it yesterday or today. All right, let's keep it rolling though. We had a quick promo package for Andrade versus Darby, which was the main event. And then we had the Undisputed Elite, which I guess is their official name now, Championship Celebration, because they stole the titles, or as Adam Cole so succinctly put it, they took the titles because you can't steal what's already yours. And they covered up the nameplates with their own names and with masking tape and some Sharpie. So audible gasp. How could they? All the pearl clutching. They had a box of party supplies, which they just opened the box, like 5 balloons floated out, which was hilarious. We got Kyle's air guitar back, and Kyle was also drunk. Kyle said he was trying to cut the promo, and he's like, I've had too much champagne. I don't remember what I was going to say, and I'm just going to sit down. This was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, because Hangman quickly came out driving a Tesla with some Longhorns on it, which was mad cool looking. It was like economical JBL. And then he beeline to the ring, surprisingly cleared everybody out. And then Jurassic Express and Christian came down and hit the Undisputed Elite from the back on the ramp, and they were able to get all their titles back. So quick little segment, everyone got their titles back, everyone looked pretty good, and that was that.
Can I just say there's one thing in the segment that bugged me?
Go ahead.
All three men were holding those belts way too long to not have ripped the tape off of the belt for like once they got it back. If I'm Hangman, the moment that belt is in my hands, that tape is coming off because it's not his, it's mine. But no, I'm seeing Hangman holding taped up AEW World Championship, and it bothered me. It bothered me. I don't know if it's an OCD thing. I don't know if it's a nitpicky thing, but I was like, I just wanted to see him peel it off.
I feel like that was probably a really good like in commercial thing that they did for the fans.
You know what bothered me?
What's up?
Christian.
Just being there?
Yeah, it's starting to get a little weak for me.
It's Christian.
I know, I love Christian. It's just he's not doing anything.
I mean, he gave them the numbers advantage, which is enough, I guess. And I love Christian, but unless they have a big story for him, he shouldn't be overshadowing anybody else.
I agree,
cool,
but I also don't think he fits well with Jurassic Express for some reason.
I mean, they literally just let go the other guy. Poor Marco stunt, but. I agree. It's a weird fit, but they are benefiting from him. Like if I'm a young wrestler, if I'm Jungle Boy, the learning tree that is Christian is just there's so much to get from him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he helps with the promos, backstage, because Jungle Boy is getting better at talking, but having Christian there as a base is always really good. Yeah, he doesn't fit aesthetically. He's, not from the woods or 85 million years old. He's close.
I mean, to be fair, he's from Canada. You can't get much weirder.
Yeah. So, but I think he's good for them. They positioned him, at least in kayfabe, as a mentor to Jungle Boy, and it's still going. Maybe. I don't want to say past his expiration date, but he's just kind of there now, as opposed to more leading the group the way he was, I think, when he first joined up with them, at least speaking wise. So I can see why you're just kind of like, it's Christian. Like, I want him to do more, but he is in a good spot in terms of like what they need out of him at the moment.
Right. I agree with that. I guess I just would like the lines that are blurred to be unblurred. Pretty much. I don't know if he's a valet, a manager, a wrestler. So I'm just kind of.
Yeah, he hasn't been in the ring in a minute.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, he wrestled like 2 weeks ago on Rampage.
Okay. That's
okay. He hasn't been in the ring on Dynamite in a minute.
Fair point.
Yeah. I did like the joke on BTE 300 at the very end, the post-credit scene where the Bucks and the Hardys were arguing with each other, and he just ducks his head and goes, "Should I get a partner?"
there are so many people. There are so many people who are reading so into that. Like the amount of people that I was seeing hashtag Edge to AEW. It's like, come on,
nah.
Come on, guys.
I don't think he'd leave. I don't know.
All right, we'll save that for another video.
That's a whole different argument. We should just do a segment on that like later. It's like, there's no news this week. We're just gonna randomly talk about Edge, speculate about him leaving.
You guys are seeing the creative process for the Mark It Down podcast, how we come up with shit to talk about. So,
and then you'll also notice
so sorry.
Never come through with any of it. We do this, we do the episode, the fast forwards. Okay, we had Thunder Rosa do an interview with Toni Schiavone on the stage again. This time she actually was able to speak instead of just getting decked from behind. The promo was good. She said she wanted to be not only a pillar of the vision, but one of the foundations of the company, which I thought was cool. It was very, I won the title and now here I am sort of things. And honestly, it's true. This is her, big arrival, I think. She's the women's champion now. She's got that beautiful new belt, and she's at the top of the card. So I'm excited to see what she does with that from there. And after that, we had a quick FTR backstage promo. They called out the Young Bucks to have their rematch. So if that happens, that's going to be lit. And face FTR versus heel Young Bucks is going to be a very interesting dynamic. That led to the Toni Storm debut, which we already talked about. After that, Toni had a backstage interview. Toni Schiavone. Now there's so many Tonys. Ay, Dios mío. Toni Schiavone ran down Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero backstage, and they just basically threatened Thunder Rosa. Although Nyla had a pretty good line about, wanting a wishes and being a genie and abracadabra bitch. That was pretty funny. And then we move on to our main event, Darby Allin versus Andrade El Idolo. Before the match even started, Darby was skating to the ring, and Andrade hit a tornado like the second he got off his skateboard, threw Darby into the timekeeper's area, bounced him off the table. Darby then turned the proverbial tables by sending Andrade into the steps, and then he jumped on his back with the skateboard. Eventually, Andrade threw him into the crowd and then bounced him off the sideways turned steps, which looked nasty. Finally, they got into the ring. Bryce Remsburg was asking Darby if he wanted to start the match. Darby literally grabbed him by the shirt and said, "Start the damn match." So they did. And then right before commercial, I loved this. Darby got so much height on a back body drop that he did almost a full 360 and landed on his knees. He just over rotated because he got so much height and landed right on his knees. It looks like it hurt like hell, but he's just so spindly. He's got crazy rotation. He also had a really cool counter, a code red counter of what I thought was a Rager's Edge. It looked like Andrade was setting up for, and he countered it to code red. So that was cool. Vicious slap fight broke out in the middle of this, which ended when Andrade just dropped him, and then that obviously led to a fucking Will Smith chant out of the South Carolina crowd. Darby hit a really cool crucifix off the top rope and then put on the arm bar, which led to Jose, the assistant, coming down to try to save Andrade. Sting came down to beat him up. Butcher and the Blade came down to beat Sting up. Darby jumped onto Butcher and Blade to take them out. Then he went back into the ring, went for the coffin drop. Andrade countered, hit El Idolo, which I guess is the name of his finisher, and picked up the win. After the match, Butcher and Blade started jumping Sting. Private Party came down to join the assault. And then the Hardy Boys come down, they're still the Hardy Boys. They come down with some. Oh, they're just the brothers
now.
They're just the Hardys
or
the Hardy Brothers, but they can't be the Hardy Boys.
Sue me.
WWE will. That's the problem.
Whatever. They came down with tables and chairs because they have a tables match with Butcher and Blade next week. And then Mark Quinn got hit with a side effect and a swanton to end the show. So this is a good main event. Wasn't the best match of the night, as I think we've all agreed with. It was probably Bryan versus Wheeler. But, fun main event, James. And then you get the Hardys to close the show. I have no complaints here.
I know I'm giving Danny ammo here, but this match didn't really do it for me, if I'm being honest. This is where I'm gonna get maybe the flack of what I'm gonna say. I don't really blame Andrade as much as I kind of blame Darby for this one. And it's not even something I can blame Darby for, but it's like I'm watching a slap fight between Andrade and Darby, and I'm supposed to believe in any way that Darby is going to win that fight. Like
he didn't.
No, he did it. He did it, but it went on for just a little too long. It went on for a moment of okay, if I was fighting a kindergartner, I feel like the kindergartner would get one good shot on my knee, but then I would just flick him away. And they didn't do that here. And that's kind of what I think it needed to be.
I think Darby's a bit more resilient than your average kindergartner, though.
I don't know that. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I love Darby. I really do. And the truth is, I'm actually a little worried for Darby because at this point, I think he's above the TNT title. but I'd also say he's not really ready to be world champion. So there's not really a lot of room for him to do anything else except be in these feuds that don't really go anywhere and tend to go on for a very long period of time. So I'm getting a little worried for Darby's placement in on the roster, and I do think Andrade needed to win this match. But I don't know, the match itself, it didn't really click for me.
I was gonna say it didn't slap, and then it literally did. So
there were some good spots. I'm not going to deny that there were some good spots because it's a Darby match. There's always going to be exciting stuff that happens in these matches. And I will say, I think Andrade had a really cool spot where he did the schoolboy and then he lifted him and then walked to the corner and tossed him into the corner. I thought that was a cool spot. But overall, it just didn't really gel for me the way I would have hoped. And I think the best part of the segment was after the match when the Hardys got involved and Sting got involved. But yeah, overall could have been a little bit tighter. And I know I see Danny, and
you said the Hardys, and you just immediately rolled his eyes.
But it was all right. It was all right, and I bugged me the fucking most that there was a table that was brought into the ring and just nothing happened. I have to believe that was like it ended up just being for the crowd because they ran out of time. But man, why show me that table and then do nothing with it?
Like I said, they have Butcher and the Blade in a tables match next week. So they probably brought it out and we're going to use it as a tease for that. And then it probably just got cut for time. That would be my guess.
Boo. Boo, Leslie Nope. Boo.
Danny, I'm going to immediately, I was going to go to you last to give you time, but now I want to hear you counter what James has to say. Or agree with him because he didn't really like the match.
Well, first of all, I would like to say to Dragoon in the chat, this is why we're not going to take your call-in request because of your weird Andrade praise and now Darby slander.
Who slanders Darby?
But
Dragoon.
First of all right, I hate to do this to Excalibur, but like when Darby jumped on Andrade's back, the skateboard, called it an ollie, and that's not an ollie. Okay, it's not how skateboarding works. Okay, it's like a very minor thing, but I was a 16-year-old emo boy, so of course I skateboarded, and you could call that a caveman. It's not really much of anything. It's just getting on your board, but if you had to classify it as a trick, you would call it a caveman. But anyway,
I almost called it an ollie, and now I'm so fucking glad I didn't.
I was paying attention for that. I was waiting to see if you would do the same thing.
Like, you know what? That's not an ollie. I'll just say you jumped on his back with the skateboard. It's
good.
Little
great job.
Yeah,
great
put it in layman's terms.
As far as everything James said, I disagree, actually, to a lot of it. I actually thought the match was pretty good.
A bitch. I thought that's the one thing we'd be on the same page.
WrestleMania week, we're already in Bizarro world, Matt.
I thought, especially the pre-match stuff, like the spot where he dropped him on the stairs, but the stairs were on their side, and the way the stairs bent over when he landed on it, I thought that was sick.
Yeah, it was cool.
But I disagree that I don't think Andrade needed to win, and this is where my problem lies with this. One is that Andrade is boring, but two is that more importantly, honestly, he almost doesn't fit into this feud. This is a feud between 4 tag teams and a singles wrestler. So, like, where does he fit in? And you know what? I agree he needed to beat somebody. I don't think he should have beaten Darby. I think he should have beaten Matt. Like,
I agree. I do
why
agree.
are we pinning Darby? Darby is the star out of the 4 people that you're trying to build for the future. Don't pin him. Pin Matt. Don't pin Jeff yet, but if this was like 6 weeks from now, I'd say pin Jeff. But I'm like obviously not going to pin him right away. He just got there, Sting. You're not wasting Sting's first pin on anyone but Darby. I don't think anyone should pin Sting but Darby. So it's like just pin Matt. that he's perfectly there to lose this match. And that's the thing. Andrade doesn't fit into this feud. He has no place in the feud. He has no place with the formerly Hardy family office, now AFO Miss Murder office. But like, he doesn't fit into this feud. He doesn't fit into his own feud. Like, how pathetic, right? Like,
I hate you.
but it's true. You know that's true.
I
He doesn't
hate
fit
you.
in.
He did literally try to buy Darby. Like, quietly, he's like, I want to buy your son. Like, he did try to buy. I will say this.
See, that's the thing, is I like that part of it. I liked it when it was Andrade feuding with Darby and then kind of Sting. But now that the Hardys are involved and it's all tag teams, he doesn't fit in anymore.
No, I agree. That
was the best thing Andrade ever did. I've said it time and time again. The best thing Andrade has done in this company so far is think that Darby is Sting's son. I genuinely think it's funny. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I really think it's funny. So like, but now he has no place. Like, he is on TV, but he's more lost in the shuffle than people who aren't on Dynamite on a weekly basis.
This feud did get mishmashed together, so I can see what you're saying. Where like, it's a busy feud. It's like 4 of them going at once. I will say this just to counter your Andrade winning thing. If he beats Matt, like, what does that do for him? Like, Matt Hardy is not the win,
because that's the guy he kicked out of his own faction. So it actually makes sense for him to beat Matt more than anything.
And he can still get that, but I think this win over Darby, who is way higher on the power tier of AEW, is a much bigger win for him, and like could actually maybe propel him to something as opposed to beating Matt.
Propel him to what? He's not going anywhere.
Touche. Like he doesn't really. You're right. Maybe he doesn't really have anywhere to go. But I just think
it's a future TNT title winner, and you're
going
to
win.
accept it.
Yeah, because guys like Scorpio Sky can win it. So yeah, maybe Andrade can win it now too. Scorpio Sky broke through the glass ceiling for people like Andrade to bring the TNT title down. Yeah, I'm with it, James. He's a future TNT champion. Absolutely.
I think there's still
this
a
is why
chance.
Cody left.
I think there's still a chance he wins the AEW title. I don't know when, but there's a chance.
Give it to me. No, yeah, I don't even want it, but I want it because I know Danny would hate it. Give it to me.
I would find entertainment in it.
Chad, you have been waiting patiently for your turn here. Do you have any comments on the match, the importance of Andrade winning, the post-match beatdown, anything you got for us?
I wish I had this huge, climactic, like, wonderful explanation. You probably should have went to me first, bro. I'm so indifferent. Like, the match was better than I thought it would be. Even though I'm kind of on the side of James, it didn't click all the way for me as well. But I do agree that it was better than I would. I mean, I don't think anybody really wanted to see the match anyway. So after that, I was kind of like, I guess I'll watch it. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. It's not bad. Andrade he's really good in the ring or whatever.
That's also something to celebrate, James. That's like the bare minimum for being in AEW.
I will take it. Okay, I don't care.
He's got a point, Sting.
He shows great promise and potential in the ring. I'm just so uninterested in everything else. I'm with Danny. The tag teams, it's muddying the whole point of the feud. I don't even know what's going on anymore. This was absolutely not a main event for me. I was watching it and getting on Zoom, awaiting us.
This was live. A Rampage main event on Dynamite.
Right.
That's actually pretty fair.
But
which goes to the point that he's bound to be a TNT champion, and that's his ceiling. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's a lateral move from current TNT champion. But
James, you're nodding. Do you disagree?
That's a no. Yeah, that's a no out of James.
It's a step down, really, if you think about it, because Scorpio Sky is, he's been a tag champion now, and he has a manager that's really entertaining. But anyway, in all seriousness, what is the payoff of this feud? Because if the Darby Andrade match isn't, is it Darby? Is it Andrade Matt? Because that's the lame payoff. Is it Jeff Andrade? That makes no sense. I don't even want to see that. Well, like you could do it as a filler Dynamite match, but like, is the payoff a 5-on-4 handicap match? Like, what's what? How does
for everyone involved? That is what happens here.
That's the problem now with this feud, is that there's no clear logical conclusion for it to build to now, because it's a singles guy and 2 tag teams versus 2 tag teams.
Well, being objective, I guess James does make the point where Andrade winning this catapults him to something. I don't know what, but it does look good on him. He probably needed the win.
I mean, yeah, obviously when you're, drowning, you definitely need a life preserver, but like, why does he have to bring Darby down with him? Like that's more, I think Andrade winning a match is okay, but I like Darby, as much as, he's taking these crazy bumps and falls, like he's not bulletproof. You can't just beat him willy-nilly. You got to make it mean something. You got to more important people beat him,
I agree.
James, can I say something without you getting super pissed at me?
Okay, I'm pretty defeated as it is, so just go for it.
Jeff Hardy coming to AEW made this feud so much messier than it was. Like, it just in terms of adding another person to it.
Oh,
I think he screamed. No, because obviously I love Jeff being there and I want Jeff to be there. And like this whole Hardy's tag team run is going to be awesome. I needed all those qualifiers just to maybe try to get him back.
It's too late. He's gone.
But
wait, there's no James.
No, but to seriously make this point, it just made it so much muddier because like you said, Danny, like it was Matt was going to leave and then he was probably going to maybe team with Darby and Sting and try to take out this new, the new
And
Andrade family office or whatever.
Private Party and Andrade versus Matt, Sting, and Darby.
Exactly, yeah, and it would have been fine. And Jeff coming in now makes it a tag team, and then Sting only gets in the ring if it's part of the tag team. He doesn't do singles matches. Darby is like technically a singles guy, but it makes it like 1.5 tag teams against 2 tag teams and the single guy. It just completely threw off the numbers.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like the feud would have ended and made sense a bit more. Shit, you could have ended the feud with Jeff coming in making a save, and that's how you end the feud. You know what I mean? Like you could have had a tornado tag, with the 6 guys you mentioned, and then Butcher and Blade get involved, and then Jeff comes in, and that's how that goes. They got Jeff in as soon as they could, just to get Jeff in, and I think they could have built to it better, and it wouldn't have made this feud such a mess.
Is it just me, or is Butcher and Blade with Andrade just it's just not working?
Oh no, it's not. They haven't worked with Matt Hardy either. But James, since you're back, let me.
Hi, James.
Wait, James, did you hear what I said?
No, I'll explain it to you, James. He said that ever since Jeff Hardy got here, things are worse. Is more or less what he said.
That's not what I said, James. No, James, come back. I want to actually know your opinion on what I said.
He agrees with us. He knows it's true. That's why he left, because he's upset about it.
Did you hear what I said, James?
I did.
Okay. It took me a minute to fully form that point, but
I agree with this has kind of just been a problem with AEW in general, that they don't really know when to end a feud. Like, there are moments that it feels like this is the perfect time to end it, but wait, this feud is going on for another 3 weeks. And I agree. I think Jeff would have been the perfect ending. Let's have that 6-man match, have Andrade versus, I guess, or Andrade and Private Party versus
Sting, Darby, Matt.
Yeah, Sting, Darby, Matt, and then Jeff comes in for the save. And then if you want to have a blow-off match of the Hardys versus Private Party, I think you could do that. But yeah, this is just, it's going on too long. And it's I don't think it's a point of being bad, but we're getting to a point of diminishing returns.
Yep.
So many wins have been traded between both sides, and I don't know what the payoff could be at this point, because
There is no payoff.
that's the problem. I mean, Darby Andrade, if that's the end, that like if that's the big singles match, that should have been the finish next week or 2 weeks from now or whenever. But instead, we're getting the Hardys versus Butcher and Blade, which is a match that it could be good. It's a tables match. Those are always fun, but I'm not connected to it the way I would have been if it was Hardys versus Private Party, which they hit too soon, in my opinion.
Yeah, same.
So I don't know. I would have rathered a lot of different booking here. I think Jeff serves a purpose to this, but I think whoever loses this feud loses a lot more than they should. Andrade is going to look bad if he loses this, even though he got the win against Darby. And then Team Emo Boy will not look great if they lose in the tag matches. So I really don't know anymore. I want it to be over. I really do. I got Jeff in AEW with Matt. I'm cool if he keeps teaming with Darby. Like, I would like that unit to be a unit, but just separate from the Andrade family office.
See, I would love if Darby and Jeff had a moment where Darby just turned to Jeff and be like, "You're the reason I'm straight edge." But yeah, I'm glad we're all on the same page. Jeff Hardy has made everything worse. It's cool. I think we could end on that note, right, guys?
How come you did left when I said my thing and I was trying to make a legit point, and then Danny goes makes that joke, and now you won't.
My hand is actually shaking. Like I didn't have the arm power to reach up and to hit the button.
All right. So I don't want to end on that note, but I think I just need to end this because you guys are like, there's something bad is going to happen. So, you know what? Thank you, everybody, for watching. We have a lot of stuff. I'm going to screenshot that, James. We have a lot of stuff coming out this week because it is WrestleMania week. So be sure to like and subscribe and stay on the lookout for all of our stuff. Follow us on the social medias. I will get it in the description as soon as YouTube lets me. For whatever reason, they don't let me do it for like a couple hours. But you can always check back here. Go check out one of our other videos, and you can find all of our stuff there. So thank you once again so much for watching. For myself, Nick Cummings, Chad Big Bad Johnson, Danny Hernandez, and an absolutely screamed face James Gisanti. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you